My guest this week, Mitch Prensky, is a real operator's operator. He approaches this business as a business, not just running a restaurant or a hospitality operation. We talk about the importance of prime costs and restaurants that confuse a low food cost with profit. And profit is so much more important. What you put to the bottom line is really what the lifeblood of your business is all about. We're going to talk about break even and labor and leadership, like all the challenges that are going on today in your business, as well as standard operating procedures and best practices. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. Now, on with the show. Restaurant owners and general managers, listen up. Your biggest challenges are labor and shrinking margins. Both kill your profit. I help restaurants find and fix those leaks. Last year, I uncovered over $300,000 in lost profit in 2 independent restaurants and $885,000 in a 5-location pizza chain. I specialize in controlling costs to maximize profit, training managers to become leaders, training front of house staff to sell, and marketing that drives trackable, new, and repeat business. If you want more profit, less hours, and a dream team staff in your restaurant, book a free 30-minute profit strategy session with me. Email roger@restaurantrockstars.com. That's ROGER@restaurantrockstars.com. Smithfield Culinary is dedicated to providing restaurants with the right protein for every plate and every day part. They understand that for meat lovers, enjoying a favorite cut is more than a meal, it's a memorable experience. Discover Smithfield's new ready-to-eat select bacon, designed to save chefs time with no mess left behind and no crumbs left on the plate. Or try their new ground chorizo, packed with bold, smoky flavor that brings the heat to any dish. Look to Smithfield for one of the most extensive pork portfolios available, including bacon, ham, sausage, and more, all your favorites. When you partner with Smithfield, you serve the food you love, and your guests will love what you serve. I've tasted Smithfield products at numerous restaurant shows, and they're consistently excellent and always delicious. For orders or additional information, visit smithfieldculinary.com/Smithfield. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. With me today, Mitch. How are you? Welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks a lot, Rob.
You know, I love talking shop with hospitality professionals, and you have a very interesting story in so many ways, and we're going to get into that. But, you know, we all have, I could go on forever about crazy restaurant stories, things that happen in this business, and the show must go on. Is there anything like that comes to mind over your many, many years of experience?
Well, of course. I mean, it's every night something invariably happens, and there's no POS system that doesn't break down at 4:59 on a Friday night. There's no server that doesn't call out at least once before a huge event, things like this. But I mean, I think those are the fun parts of making this industry happen. I think being an improv magician, I think, is part of what we do.
You know, you bring back memories when you talk about the POS system. So, if we went back in time like 28 years ago, I started my second restaurant. It was a brand new building that we constructed from scratch. And, at the time, I think it was 200 seats, and then it grew to 350. But literally, we were open for a couple of days, and here's a busy Saturday night. And what happens? But the POS system goes down, crashes. And it's like, we had a green staff that we were going to train and get up to speed, but all brand new building, brand new equipment, brand new everybody, brand new POS system. And the thing goes down and the restaurant is full. And, we can laugh about it now. We have to make lemonade out of lemons.
The thing I always would say is I came out of an era where when I was first cooking, there were no POS. So you were handwriting every ticket. And in French restaurants,
yes,
we had French waiters, and they were writing French style English, which is very flowery looking. You couldn't understand anything these guys were printing on a ticket. And so I came out of that. And then when I had my restaurants, invariably, yes, it would always be on the weekend when it would cost you twice as much to get the technician out to fix the thing. But it's right before the beginning of it's on a Friday night. It's always when the place is getting packed. And then to get this young staff, even when they're trained and, they come out of a certain era, they've never experienced handwriting dupes the whole time, unless they worked in diners and stuff like that. So to try to tell everybody how to change their entire attitude towards everything just for 2 hours so that we can get through tonight is a little bit of a challenge, but it always turns out. A server of mine said to me once, he goes, we were really, really deep in the weeds on this one night, and we're struggling mightily, the kitchen and the front of the house. And he turned to me and he goes, I've never known a night not to end. And I said,
That's a
good way to look
great
at
saying.
it. You're going to get through it, So,
Yeah, we used to have, we had inspirational sayings in the back of house, not just inspirational sayings, but also sort of reminders about service and about hospitality and about quality. And, one of them was keep calm and rock on. And another one said, go out there like you were shot out of a cannon. And it was all about delivering experiences, not just service. So I'm glad you brought that up. But I can't imagine having to decipher that sort of French flair in the writing when
yeah,
everything
it's
should be as
beautiful.
simple as it could be. Like my
It's
first place, was a fired pizzeria, and we didn't have a POS 30 years ago. We did the handwritten tickets, and there were little codes for the toppings for the pizzas, and it was like a P and a circle was pepperoni, and it was simple. But I can't imagine like this sort of deciphering the French stuff.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny that way. And some of the sayings that we used to have as stuff is, I was always, we had lineup every night. And these are, we're talking more fine dining restaurant. So at lineup every day, our true credo was act as if. And act as if could mean anything. So that's a dot. So it could be act as if your favorite people are coming into dinner tonight, and it's just really method acting. You're getting into this role of who you want to be that night. And I would say to servers, listen, you see me here every day, and if that's what it takes, and act as if you're me or us or whoever the ownership is and leadership of this place is. So so that's really gets people in the frame of mind that for the next 4 or 5 hours or so, they're on a stage and they're portraying a role.
So you were trained in culinary, and you obviously have chef skills, and you've owned restaurants and all that sort of thing. But you also have an MBA from Wharton, which is arguably one of the best business schools in the country. What came first, and did you apply all those skills to your business? Like, tell us the story, and then I want to hear about your concepts.
Sure. So I grew up in a family that had a food business. I would say that my mom was the chef of this business and the president of the company, and my dad was the vice president of the company, but he was the business side of everything. So I grew up around that, and I was in music first. As a young kid, I was a drummer, a jazz drummer, and I went to music school for it and everything. So I really wanted to focus on that, but every day I had off of school and every moment I was part of this family business. And then later on, I wanted to, I'd done some music stuff when I was right out of college, and it just didn't really grab me as far as this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And so I said, I want to go into kitchens. And basically what I did at first was I went into the back door of a very high-end French kitchen and said, I'll work for free. And that's how I started cooking. I knew a little bit from my parents' business, but not a lot. I mean, they were not working on the same level as any kind of classic French technique or anything like that. So I did that for a little bit, and then I went to French Culinary Institute here in New York City, which is, I grew up in New York here. I went to French Culinary and late 80s, early 90s. Then from there, I graduated, and I was running the restaurant at French Culinary Institute, which was called L'École.
So that was a training within the Culinary
Yeah,
Institute to get people ready to go out into the real world, or
no, it was funny because there were two things.
Yeah.
There was the student school, student restaurant, and then there was L'École, which was a full service retail restaurant. And
Gotcha.
we were serving, I think it was 2 meals a day, 7 days a week. So I think the top graduates were asked to stay and offered jobs, and I was offered a position. So I started out in garde manger there and worked my way up to sous chef, and it was great. And I was working for Jacques Pepin at that time and Roland Sayac, who were just legends, and they really took me under their wing, which was also another thing where I was like, wow, I didn't expect a lot of that. And then from there, I took a job with, I was referred by them to work for Bobby Flay at Mesa Grill. And I went to work with Mesa Grill for a while. And then I met a young woman who I would be married to, and she grew up in Philadelphia. And so that's how Philadelphia happened. I moved down to Philly with her. And when I was in Philly, I was wanting to open my own thing. I probably was too young to be doing that, but I really never cared about that. I was just like, well, I feel like I want to do it. I'm going to do it. And at the time, I had a little time on my hand, and we had started this catering and events company. And so I had a flexible-ish schedule. And I said, I hear this is such an obtuse thing to say. I said, well, I hear there's a great business school in Philly. Maybe see if I can go do that. And so, I tested in and I went to Wharton for entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurship school was very young at the time, but it was odd. It was not what you would think from Wharton, which is very finance based and stuff like this.
That's
Uh,
my impression. Yes.
right, sure. Yeah. So I wasn't on that side of the track, but you do learn everything, of course. And did it inform, of course, what I wanted, the reason why I went was because I wanted to learn everything I could about business. I'm like, if I'm going to own restaurants, I want to learn everything. I want to be able to do it myself, or at least be in a room with a bunch of people and be able to speak that language and not be looked at as, oh, here's the chef and he walked in, he's this creative guy and he doesn't know what these KPIs are. He doesn't know how this mechanism runs and what the success metrics are, right? It was a great experience. And I basically, after that, you kind of put it in your back pocket. You just kind of run your life. It did inform things. It's not like I was sitting there with a book every day, but it does inform things as far as how you operate, the decisions that you make. And, but yeah, no, I was able to, I grew that one catering company. Then we added on a couple of restaurants and then I started doing stuff for some other people. Over the course of time that I was in Philly, there was a moment, I think 2013 or 14, where we had we were in 3 different cities with like 4 different restaurants, which is pretty robust. The issue was none of it was organized in a way where it was like, oh, this is a system. And, we have a standard operating procedure for all 4 places. There were 4 separate businesses with different partners and different concepts and stuff. So it was a lot of running around,
but it sounds like did the core still work or it was broken because it wasn't systemized?
Well,
What would you say?
the core worked because I never stopped working. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to work. It's going to work if you never go home. So I never went home. So, but I would say that, was it a healthy life choice? I think for 10 years of my life, I worked 7 days a week. So probably not. I would say that if it were organized, it would have freed me up to maybe grow it a little more too. And also to maybe take a step back from it every once in a while.
Would you say, I'm guessing that going to Wharton obviously it shapes our lives in many ways, the decisions we make, but had you not gone into an entrepreneurship program at Wharton, do you think that you still would have started restaurants or do you think you would have just followed your chef career? Like, what would you say?
No,
Were you inspired there?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. That was after. I mean, so the
Yeah.
initial idea was that I was going to own things and I was going to,
Always.
and it was going to be restaurants.
Okay.
And then from there, the subset of it was like, let's learn about business so that I can't do this. I would have done it anyway. And would I have stayed as a chef? I would have never seen myself. I mean, this is even when I was younger, as a line cook. I was like, I'm only doing this so I can get to the point where I don't have to do this for other people in a subset. I want to be able to kind of make those decisions. And then you get to a certain point in your career, it's like, okay, I've said that. Let me go and now apply that to help other people with their businesses. And that's where I'm at.
Okay. So let's talk about, that experience and some of the systems you talked about. Let's just say you were going to start a restaurant today from scratch, or you're an existing operator today. What advice would you give operators listening on the systems that are so important, the standard operating procedures? Like, what is the foundation in your mind to a successful restaurant?
So the first thing is understanding what that concept should be. How are we setting ourselves up for success? And that's what you're doing every step of the way as far as developing the concept. Once that concept is developed and you understand what that food should be and how really you're going to channel that and sell that or present that to your customer, through that, then we dial in on, okay, let's optimize each recipe. Through each recipe, let's optimize the cost of each recipe. So everything's a subset of something else. They're all interrelated. I don't think you can tease out one thing and say like, yes, no, we're really just good at this portion of it so that the rest of it'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. It's basically House of Cards style. You're building it up, and if one piece goes out, it's Jenga. One piece goes out, the whole thing goes out. Yeah.
Let's move on to KPIs that you mentioned. Like, what did you track when you were in restaurants and when you coach with clients today? It's like, what do you help them with financially? Are they taking inventory? Are they costing out their menus? Do they control their costs? I mean, do they do they put menus together that are both profitable and have variety and appeal to customers? Like, what are you seeing and what do you advise?
All of the above, what you just said. So prime cost is big for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big driver of, I don't think that a lower food cost is always the better way to go. I think that within reason, but there are certain items on your menu that could be a 50% food cost, but they're driving top line revenue more. So you're looking at something like a steak dish, where everyone's like, oh, well,
Absolutely.
we could never charge what we charge the steak. I was like, yeah, take the hit on the steak so that they're good. That steak customer is going to buy a bottle of good wine. The guy who's ordering a burger or chicken sandwich in the restaurant is not going to order a bottle of good wine. And then so your check average is going to kind of fluctuate. So optimizing menu and having that good sort of mix between, the stars and the dogs and the drivers that's one portion of it. The other portion of it I look for is the menu skewed heavily on prep? So that's the labor component.
Of
So I'm
course.
always looking at the labor component because, it's really where I feel like I can make a lot of, it's not a fixed cost, it's very, very variable. So I feel like I can make a lot of inroads a lot of time and say like, well, with this dish, instead of having these 4 garnishes on the plate, and those cost money, and that's on the food cost side,
Mhm.
on the inventory side, there's also the opportunity to maybe have those 5 things become 3 things, 2 things less that have to get prepped every week, have to get stored every week, have to get thrown out if they don't get sold and blah, 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 and all this sort of thing. So prime cost is big for me, food and labor put together. And beyond that, it's how much I'm a proponent that even when somebody says it's a fixed cost, I think there's wiggle room in everything except for utilities, rent. Well, utilities are even in wiggle room. So it's just a lot of that is just understanding, hey man, we don't have to have all of these burners running all night. That's a big thing in kitchens where they're just like, yeah, we just crank it up and we're in here and we're in here 11 hours with the burners on. I was like, guys, don't turn the ovens on until a half an hour before service or an hour before when we need it. And then when we don't need it, you start shutting it down. That cost savings over the course of the month is really, it's real. Like you get to, it's really real. I mean, I'm looking for those little ways to do that too. Look at your paper products. You look at your, and really understand the true cost of a dish. So say you're doing something for a business that does takeout or paper goods or something like this. Baked into that food cost is also your cost of paper goods, And I think a lot of businesses don't take that into account. Coffee shops where they'll throw in, hey, here's 9 extra sugar packets. You're like, at the end of the day, or bars where, I'm doing a project now where the chef and she's frustrated, but the bar, they have that nut mix. You buy the nut mix in the case and you buy it from like, one of these companies, like whoever U.S. business.
I'm glad you're making that point, Mitch. I've always thought of this business as one of 1,000 details and
Oh, yeah.
pennies. I had this mantra when I ran restaurants that pennies equals dollars because all those little details matter. And if there's inefficiencies across your operation, it's just bleeding, your bottom line. And really focusing on prime costs is really a balance between profitability and efficiency and optimal labor and knowing like how much there's historical trends that we look at. And after a while, you've got a feel for your business where on a Thursday night, we're going to do approximately so much. And over the course of a week, you can sort of optimize your labor based on what the sweet spot is. So I'm really glad you're bringing those things up. I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, and what I always love is, we always kept that sort of diary of the restaurant, which was at the end of the night, whoever was lead and host staff or whoever would write, well, tonight it was like, this is what happened. Here's who came in. This was the weather. This was the feeling in the town generally. Maybe we're in the finals of the playoffs. And there's a lot of people coming in because they want to sit at the bar because blah, blah, blah. So that story, when you look at it a year later, you go, oh, that's why it was slam busy on that Thursday. And you have to kind of account for that when you're saying like, well, how are we going to purchase for this week? You budget yourself. So you're budgeting on a lagging indicator, but you're also keeping in mind your leading indicator. So maybe it's, okay, well, last year, this time we did this, but we know this month coming up, there's going to be XYZ coming in. We have this amount of private events coming in. The city has a convention in town, blah, 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 stuff like this. We're going to get some of that overrun, some of that shoulder business.
What are you seeing in terms of labor these days? I mean, that's been a challenge for so long. Hey, rock stars. If you're running a multi-location restaurant or a franchise, you already know the problem. You've got data everywhere, tools everywhere, and still way too many decisions landing on your plate. I like to keep on top of new technology. That's why I've been paying attention to Atlas Nova. Atlas Nova is like having an AI CMO and an AI COO built into one platform. It connects your POS and marketing data, tells you exactly what matters, and then actually helps execute campaigns, insights, next best actions, all without adding headcount. Less guessing, less busy work, better results. If you want your business to run smarter, not harder, check out Atlas Nova at www.atlasnova.ai/rockstars and get 20% off using the code ROCKSTARS20. That's Rockstars with a capital R 20.
I think that's the problem as old as time itself. Sure. I don't think it's ever, I mean, I don't know that there's ever, I'm trying to think of a time where everybody was like, no, this is perfect. We have plenty of labor and everybody's great. I don't think I've ever heard that. And I've been doing this for 30 something years. So I'm just trying to think back of like, was there a time? I think everyone does that where they say like, no, it used to be great. I think like you think it used to be great, but maybe you weren't in the decision-making position at that point in your career. But no, listen, it's just different. It's not, I would say it's better than it was maybe coming out of pandemic. I would say that I will say this. I had a restaurant and around from 2006 to 2010, let's say, I had a cruise of people they were great. They were really hardcore. They were into it. And then from 2010 to the last 6 years of it, not as much. And the first thing I did was I blamed, I was like, well, the world's changing. Everyone has smartphones now. Now that's really what happened. Like a lot of times I was like, everyone had a smartphone and now all of a sudden you could go hunt for your new job on your break, on your phone. And, so a course correction became kind of tough in the restaurant industry because it was a new playing field, right? And I think ownership side, people weren't really like aware that it got a little mercenary style, but that's a pendulum swing, right? So it swings back the other way. I think at the end of the day, if you're being kind to your staff and you're treating them as if they're adult working people that need stuff for their lives, I think you're going to go a lot further, but you have to play with the rules. You have to play inside the circle that is here. So it's the little sandbox. You throw all of the stuff in the sandbox. The sandbox we're in today, is that, listen, the way things were when I came up in the 80s, 90s and to the way it is now are two different worlds. And you can't use that tool to get this result. Right. So.
Yeah, my approach was always treating people like they had ideas that could contribute to the betterment of the business. And we created a culture, and it was really about leadership versus management. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast. There are bosses out there, and then there are great leaders. And we've all had in our careers, whether it's in restaurants or not, as young people even, we've had great people that we would follow off the end of the earth. And then there were those people that, oh, that guy's a jerk and I'm out of here because I can't deal with it. And I think that is part of the key. And then recruiting versus hiring and giving people incentives to recommend great people and then building this culture that people are, they're not expendable resources, but they're valued and they have contributions to make. And then giving them a voice, what would make your job easier, better? Do you have any ideas that would improve the business? If you do so, we'll give you an incentive for taking on additional responsibility. I thought that always worked really well for me in my restaurants.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I had people work for me and I had a restaurant for 10 years where I had front of the house staff that stayed with me from day one until we closed.
Awesome.
And that's saying something for front of the house staff. Back of the house staff, you're like, well, no, those, I had some of those guys too. I had employees work for me for 20 years in one business, but it's because we treated them like they were us, they were family. So I always would say, I was like, I do not hold a cornerstone and the greatest ideas in this place because my name is on the door or because I'm the chef owner of this place. So I don't care where it comes from. I think that's a funny lesson because I remember I opened our first restaurant and every night at lineup, I had a very experienced staff that was coming out of fine dining restaurants. And they were all, they had their attitude of who they were. And a lot of it was feeling out who we were. And I would say every night I was like, you guys have any comments, concerns, complaints, like anything and any ideas? And I would say that every night at lineup. And of course, most of the time you got like just a bunch of people staring at their shoes. And then every once in a while, somebody would say something. And then I had a floor manager come to me, and she said, because came out of that world too, she said, they look at you as weak because you keep asking them for their opinion. And I was like, oh, I don't care about that. That's a bad perspective on the way I'm trying to go about this. I'd rather look weak. It's perceived as weakness. It's not. It's actually, being kind and being interactive with the staff and that sort of.
I was coaching a restaurant years ago, and I forget what state it was, and it doesn't matter, but I'm walking through the kitchen, and there was a box that looked like, like a letter box or something. It was about yay wide, and it had a little lid on top. And on the front, it had 4 letters, MMDD. And I just happened to ask the GM, I'm like, what's MMDD? And he's like, that's our made my day difficult box. And anyone can literally, I thought, what a genius idea. It's like, we're encouraged. What happened that went sideways today, and how can we fix it? And you can either put that note in there anonymously, you can put your name to it, you can complain about something that could be improved. And it's like, we want to know these things. We want to fix every single day all these MMDD things. And I love sharing that message because I thought it was great.
It's great. We used to do at night, I always had floor managers like, okay, let's do a post-mortem. So you do a lineup at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Post-death, post-mortem. And I'd be like, okay, fine. And it was and they always would do this what went wrong meeting. And I was like, okay, those are good. Those are good, except to leave your night, you're already beaten down by the night, right? So we were working 11 hours, and everyone's just like, oh, God. And to have somebody push this wagging their finger at you type of moment at the end of your night, I was like, that wouldn't make me feel good. I'd go home and feel a little bit like really more deflated than, God, the night beat me up. So I used to say, okay, of every one of these what went wrong meetings, you have to couple it with what went right. So you also have to, everyone works on improving the thing that didn't happen. Let's not do that anymore. Learn for blah, 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 blah. But then you also have to be aware that you did a lot of really great things, right? So instead of black and white thinking or that all or nothing thinking, which is really dangerous, you can say like, no, on a spectrum, 97% of this night went well. What went well? What were the best things that happened? So including that in the night is into the post-mortem meeting is important, was very important for us as well, because the staff would leave and say like, yeah, no, that's cool. And I want to come back and do it again and improve it.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about AI, because it's like obviously it's changing light speed, minute by minute, day by day. Are you finding your clients or just restaurants in general are starting to embrace it and really seeing value there? Are you still seeing restaurants that are intimidated by it? Oh, that's dangerous. I mean, what are you seeing? Like, what do you think?
I don't know that I see fear and intimidation. I think I see, again, and this is also on the same spectrum, there's all different people make up a world, right?
Of course.
So you'll have early adopters to anything.
Yes.
So I have some clients that are early adopters to anything that comes up. They're like, let's try it. And that's a certain personality. And there are other people that are, on the other side of the spectrum, they're like, oh, that thing. And they're slow adopters to something, but they would have done that. It doesn't matter if it was AI or smartphone or
a POS system versus the handwritten notes.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So I think that's on a spectrum. I think I'm seeing a lot in the middle. There are a lot of people that are kind of sitting on the sidelines right now because a little bit of the offerings are a little bit of the Wild West, right? So there's a billion things coming at owners all the time. Like, hey, we do this. Hey, we can solve for that. Hey, AI. And they keep throwing AI at everything.
Correct.
And it gets like, what can this thing do for me? What can it do? Let me sit on the sidelines and see it shake out. And I think that once you see it kind of stabilize, I think that's where a lot of those people will enter the market in some way. And they will. They should.
Yeah, there's just such an overwhelming amount of tech out there, and not just AI tech, but any kind of restaurant tech, whether it's scheduling software or it's back of house stuff or it's inventory. I mean, it's just constantly coming up with something new. And I think in my experience, I mean, restaurant owners are somewhat jaded because I say this often when I owned restaurants. The phone rings off the hook all day, people trying to sell you things. People show up at the back door, no appointments, trying to sell you things. And it's like, after a short period of time, and it's like, how do you separate?
I always used to laugh about that. I was like, these people are trying to sell, and there's thousands of people trying to sell stuff to people that don't have a lot of free cash to buy stuff. So it's I don't know. I was like, do they look at all owners as suckers? Like, oh yeah, let's get in here. These guys they'll buy it. They're busy. They don't, but there's not a bunch of like expendable money around to like go throwing around. I think it would be funnier if it was, I think it would make more sense, let's say, if you looked at a business that was where, or an industry that was where there was super profit margins around, and then, yeah, go attack those guys. But restaurant owners, not really. I mean, you're asking for pennies, and yeah, they're busy, and then they just don't want to concentrate. So it's one of the hardest. I think it's almost, maybe for a salesperson, it's a challenge. Like, hey, if I could get a restaurant owner guy, take a minute out of his day,
right,
to pay attention to me, to even understand this thing, and then purchase it, then I'm probably the greatest salesperson on earth.
yeah, we're challenging. We're
That's a
definitely,
challenge, right? Yeah.
we are. Yeah, that's true. Once you get past the gatekeeper, and if you can get my attention, and if you can make me see opportunity and see
Yep.
results from what the cost is, the ROI, if you can put all that together when there's 10,000 other things bombarding you during the day, like you said, you're an
Yeah.
optimum sales guy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Let's talk about dining preferences and staying relevant with guests. I mean, there are restaurants that have become institutions. Decades later, they're still on fire. Then there are those that are like flash in the pan. We're hot for months and then it's over. It's like, and keeping up with aging out customers and just staying relevant is a real challenge in this business. What are you seeing there?
I always say this. I mean, I don't know that and that's like looking at a trend is not a trend. So I don't look for trend. I know that even when I have a customer who's, oh, we want to do this hip trendy thing, I'm like, let's set it up to be classic. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do is create classic dishes, classic food, a classic service style, because that won't go out of style. And that's really where my mind goes whenever I'm writing a menu. So I don't chase the trends. I think if you took those classic stalwarts that are 100 years old, right, and you said like, okay, well, they're on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end of the spectrum is these flash in the pan new places that are only going to last 6 to 8 months because they're selling some wacky thing that's they saw online or something. You got to take both of those out of the equation. They're not really, they're aberrations in a sense.
Yep.
You can aspire to be one of the classic legends, but they're the way they are because of when they existed in time and when they were created and how they kind of operated. And you have to understand what the customer base was when this restaurant opened in 1920. And so baked into that is also history and family and legacy and oh, it became this thing that my parents go to every year and all that sort of thing. That's something that you can't buy that, right? So you have to kind of take that all out of the equation because it's not attainable. It's inspirational and you can kind of, or aspirational, and you kind of aspire to it. The flash in the pan thing is crazy too, because you're just like, what are you thinking? I mean, do you not see your business in any other way than the next 36 months, right? Because that's really where how you've kind of like created the model. So I think that at the end of the day, people eat the same way that they always have eaten, and you're not going to train anybody to eat anything new. There's no combination of ingredients that I'll put together that'll be this new way that everyone's just going to change. Hours are the same thing. You're not going to have nobody wants to eat brunch at 7:00 on a Tuesday night. They just don't want to do it, right?
Nope.
So it's just, people are that way. So if you go that way and say like, okay, fine, this is how people are, this is what they generally love. Let me see if I can make it a little bit different so that it's novel in a sense, or it has some kind of a newness to it, or it piques their interest or a hook, and then make it a lot better, which is executing it well. I think that will put you more likely in the category of that someday classic restaurant than it would doing it the other way.
Tell us about Coach Ho Hospitality, what you
Coach Ho.
specialize in.
Sure. So the way Kojo started. So I was working with Hyatt Lifestyle Hotels as their VP of culinary. And then around the pandemic, they let us all go, of course, like they did everywhere. And started a company called Collective Hospitality.
Oh,
and
I see that.
So that was how it started. And it was me and a bunch of different, really super creative minds in the hotel and food and beverage development space. Not really food and beverage, but everybody had their own. I was the food and beverage guy. Everybody had their own lane, design and PR and marketing and branding and all this sort of stuff. And fast forward a couple of years, we started getting some fun projects, but it was really more based on the F&B side because I was the guy pushing it. Sometimes we had the marketing person come in, sometimes we had the design person come in, but it was basically me. And I really was feeling like, oh, I'm going to focus more on F&B. And then when that magically occurred, when I met my partner now, her name is Jenny Yip, and Jenny is a phenomenal creator and has been a consultant in the industry for the past 30 years, working with people like Ian Schrager and Andre Villa, and has had her own restaurants. And she and I met, and we decided that we would kind of join forces, and that's where Kojo came from. So it's Koho, and she's the J, Jenny Yip. J.
Perfect.
In the center. So that's Kojo. So Kojo, yeah, what we do is we really focus on that because it is it's a big question mark for a lot of hotel asset managers and owners where, we always say that the way I kind of hit why we're needed, our necessity to a potential client is, I say to them, well, the hotel is a business, right? And they say, yes, it's a business. I go, okay, so inside the business, there's a business. So the business inside the business is F&B, because F&B can drive the rooms. The rooms can support F&B, but the KPIs and the monitoring systems are different, right? And the staffing is different, and the way you're looking at your measure of success is different. So we focus on that portion of it. So a lot of times people come from the room side of the hotel and they don't understand F&B, so they're scared of it. And it's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff to do in restaurants, a lot of stuff to do in F&B, and so they shy away from it. And that's why you see a lot of times, I'm not going to say that definitively, but I would say that I've seen a lot of times that F&B in hotels gets kind of the short end of the stick because there's more, I don't want to touch that big mess over there. So just gonna ignore that. And so we come in and we're just like, we'll take it not off your hands, but we'll take care of that for you and make sure that that's profitable so that it does drive the rest of it.
Bridge the gap. That's awesome.
For sure. Thank you.
Mitch, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks for being a great guest on the show. And I'm glad we emphasized running a business versus running a restaurant or a hotel, because at the end of the day, it really is a business. And you added lots of nuggets of information on those key details that help you be more profitable. So thanks for being with us.
No, I'm glad it was helpful, and always great to talk to you, Roger, and have a great day.
You as well.
All right, thanks.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. Thanks so much to our audience for tuning in. We really appreciate you listening or watching. Thanks to our sponsors this week. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Stay well, stay tuned, and I will see you next time. And that is a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.